let's get into some weathering. So as you can see, I've applied some panel line washes on this side, but I've also done and completed on that side with just a few little touch-ups to do. So I would like to really use enamel washes as part of my process. It give you the best range of colours and so forth. I'm using a little bit of the Black Knight to do the heavy black stuff, but I really like to do with greys. I like to do just use the upside down Miss Jane, the dark grey from Tamiya, and just a little bit of brown. I'll use a little bit more of the brown on the underside, but I have used a little bit here on the top side. So whilst I'm painting, I apply this, let it dry for 20 minutes or so, and whilst I'm doing that, I painted the rest of the weapons, so they're all done and they're ready for their gloss coat and their weathering and their decals, and etc, etc. So what I do is just use a little bit of the MIG enamel thinner on a bit of a towel here, put most of it on the back of my hand, and very gently, because hopefully most of that's dried off, because I don't want to take stuff out of the panel lines or the thousands of rivets that I've actually applied. So I'm just going to, it's still a bit too wet, I'm just going to apply, sort of swipe this down. Oops. And then on the wing as well. Now I want to use, one of the benefits of doing this is I can put in a little bit of micro streaking when I'm doing this. Go with the airflow, okay, it's going that way. I'm not too concerned about because this is the effect I actually want on the anti-slip walkways there. I actually want that to soak in. Okay, so that's not taking all of it off, which is what I want. I want to control it. So now I come in with a cotton bud, aka Q-tip, and I just clean up the stuff that's still behind. And I want to be sure I'm not taking it out of the panel line. And if it does happen, you know, no big deal. If you've done this before, give it a good scrub. There's some areas of this I haven't done the best gloss coat in the world. Yeah, I'm just going around cleaning up. So if you can hear that, it hears I've actually got a fair. I have gone around with a bit of a flat coat because some of these decals, I had a nightmare with my decals. Just had no luck with the FCM or the microscale ones. The FCM should have worked. They're a new set, cost a bloody arm and a leg. They were actually for my Tamiya 132. Yeah, so I don't think I was doing that. Luckily I had a spare set of, I can't remember what the company was, but anyway, so you can see what I'm doing there, cleaning up just those little tide marks and things. If you put your models in competitions, that's one of the things that judges should be looking for, is if you apply a wash, have you actually filled the panel lines, and the Revell panel lines are very deep. So you actually need to do quite a few. I had a few runs here on this port side wing that just didn't fill up. I had to go back again and do it. So there's a lot of acreage here. So you can see some of this brown stuff I've got here in the tennis court area. And you can see some of these rivets are really starting to pop up. So I'm glad I spent the time riveting this thing. So let me just get at it. So okay, here we go here. Whoops. Where I actually re-scribed a few lines. Mine isn't as deep as the Revell one, so I have to go back over and fill them again, which is no drama yarn. Time to do some all paint weathering. I've cleaned up, done the enamel washes on the little Tomcat and the big one as well, but he's just over there for the time being. Oh, and I'll put the arrestor hook on, he's on as well. So those washes have gone down nicely, and we've had a flat coat put on as well, ready for all work. Now there's 4 main areas to work on here. The walkways, the wing sweep, so there's the dirtiness when the wings go back and forth, the wing bags, the mother-in-laws, that's 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one is underneath. It's sort of a characteristic of, in the nacelles here, you get some pretty bad staining going that way. The 5th thing is just a general overall little bit of filtering and manipulating what I've already done with the washes. Let's go over the what I'm going to be using. So I'll use the burnt sienna. This is Winsor & Newton. Burnt sienna, I'll use that for the that sort of rust coloured staining that's underneath the nacelles. I've got some faded blue and faded grey and some medium grey, and I'll use those for filters. basically a dot filter. I want to change up some of the panels, make them a little bit different. The two main ones I will be using, however, for everything else is Starship Filth, which is one of the best all brush colours. It's a really nice dirty dark brown, and dark brown itself. Okay, just to give it a bit more oomph. So, now last thing to show you is I've got 3 number O brushes. I like to use less oil is better. Use a little bit, give it a go, put it down. If it's not enough, add some more. It's better to do that than just putting a huge, like I never use the oil brushes out of these stupid sort of lids that they've got, and never use them out of the thing. So yeah, 3 of them. I like to use a separate colour one, so I know that's my light colour one. Not all the times. Usually I just blend them all up together. And then speaking of blending, I've got 2, I think these are Filberts. Yep, the round ones. That's for actually, you know, doing the stippling and the dampening in, and also some streaks. I might get out a few of my wispy fan brushes as well. You can use cardboard. I like to use a little bit of whatever this is. There's stuff from Signs, or you can use a piece of sheet styrene. Where's my other one? It's in the cupboard there somewhere. Yeah, cardboard for me, it doesn't really work that well. I like to have a little bit more play with the oil that's in the oil, so hence the name. So let's get stuck into it. I'm going to start with the walkways. So I've done the first layer here on the right hand side. I've just added a little bit of the Starship Filth and a little bit of the medium grey. I'm just slowly building up the sort of muck and business that's going on there. I might just do a little bit more just to up the contrast, because I made these walkways fairly light. I think that was deck tan. So I'm just going in there and then just with my brush just changing it up, stippling and making a sort of a wear pattern, particularly on the outsides. According to the reference photos, it's sort of where you saw most of it there. So hopefully the camera is capturing that. Looks alright to me. I'm not going to go too much further than that, so we'll do this side. I'll show you how I did this. So the oils are actually fairly wet. So I'll do the medium grey first. And we'll just stipple that in. This is actually a fairly rough texture, so it's quite easy to do, and it's had the flat coats on it. Got some nice sound effects with Penny in the background there. I've gone over the lines a little bit, so that's easy to remove with a clean brush and a little bit of odorless thinner. Just, oops, a bit too much odorless thinner. That's alright. This is the other good thing too. If you've missed your some panel lines when you've done your wash previously and you've locked that in, you just can create another wash using your oils. Okay, so that's the first layer, and I'll just do a little bit of the Starship Filth now, which really bumps it up. And again, I'm just going to hit the outsides with the occasional one in the middle, like that. Just clear my stippling brush a bit, and we'll go to town. So I'm nowhere near a master of this. I'm just doing what I think works and what seems to, you know, look right, and I'm also doing as fast as I possibly can because I've only got a few days left. I've got to get these finished. I've got a whole stack of missiles over there that need decaling. So, and it's late at night, and I better get cracking or I'll get in trouble with the family. So, it's still a little bit too much compared to the other side, so I'm just going to stipple a bit more. And that's looking pretty good. What's it look like compared to the other side? Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Alright, let's move on to the wings. Onto the wing bags. I've done the starboard side one, let's do the port side one. You can see there's still a fair bit of variation in the paint there. I've added a few more colours to the palette now. Now I've got some of the all brush of dark brown, and what did I add? I added the 502 faded grey, which has almost a green tinge to it. So that's that one there. That's the faded grey, and that's the dark brown. So, a couple of layers that I've done there. So let's start with the inevitable. Just put some grey down just to break things up. And what you want to do is there's a ridge here that's not shown on the Tamiya kit. It's actually in the new Great Wall Hobby kit that looks really, really good, 148, the F-14B. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that down, and then across there, and just across there, and in these shadows, we'll do the Starship Filth. Now actually it took me about 10-15 minutes to do that one, because I just needed I wanted the oils to set up a little bit. I'm just going to use my filbert here just to put these down, just to change the underlying tone here. We're not going for straight away results, but it looks pretty good so far. So just want to spread that into that matte paint. Okay, so we've changed the tone along that ridge line there. And I just want to get rid of any tide marks or obvious bits that look like... in fact, I'm just looking at my walkways and they're not doing too good. Looks like one tone there. I need to touch that one up. The first one was better than the second one. Alright, so I'm just going to do that first. Now I'll come in with the dark brown. And this is what I did on this side to make it a bit more... As you can see, I don't use a lot of oil. You don't need a lot. Don't overdo it. It goes a long way. Just some more under there for a shadow effect, and a little bit along the edge. And I might just... Okay, so while that's just sitting there, I'm just going to fix up this port side walk. I don't like the look of it, so let's just cut there for a sec. So I've blended in that dark brown, but I'm going to use a number 4 round brush. I like to use this to do this sort of vertical stippling. I'm just going to spread it out a bit more, and I'm just going to try to feather it in. Still a little bit wet. Trying to do what I'm done on the other side there, and that's just to feather it in. I've got a bit of faded grey to blend. So these bags that inflate, just got to catch the light there, see if I'm doing that right. So I don't want a single tone over the entire bag. I want an obvious ridge line here, darkness here. So I need to pull this back a little bit. I'm basically almost not touching here, and I want it to have sort of the abrasion and sort of, because this wing swings in and out and touches this bag. So I think we're getting there with that one. I had a bit of trouble trying to get this wing sweep just right, so I've done it on this side. I don't know if you can actually tell too much. It's actually quite subtle in the reference photos, and I went a little bit overboard to see if I can bring him over on the Revell. Okay, so I've used quite a darker colour there on those ones, but you can definitely see the sweeps and the bleeps and the weeps. So I've barreled ahead and almost completed both Tomcats. I've painted the position lights, yeah, I've done a fair bit. And then I posted a few pictures up on Facebook to say, hey guys, look at this, I'm almost done. I've basically just need to demask and put on the pitot tubes and a few other things, you know, both of them are done. And someone rightly called out, John Davey I think it was, he said, hey, love the wing swept you've done there, Chris, but you know they're in the wrong position. And I looked at it close and I went, oh, of course, I have actually done them. And you can see it more on the Tomcat, because I wiped it off on the other one. Okay, so what I've done, and probably some of you were screaming at the screen while I was doing it, because this is what happens when you stay up at 1 AM every night trying to finish models for a competition, is you don't use your reference photos that show you, oh, yep, right page, okay, this one. So this is from Shuichi Hayashi's unbelievably amazing book on how to model a F-14. Yeah, I had the wing sweep completely wrong. To show you, here's my what if 1/72 scale F-14. I did an RFF markings, as you can see. Now it comes with the Academy, if you can see them there, I'll just tighten up, with Academy, this is the Academy kit, they come with decals, and they have the correct wing sweep done. See, I was doing the wrong pivot point, and as it was rightly pointed out, mine was 90 degrees off, so it's actually the pivot point's up here, and I've got to go like that, not over here and go. So you can see this is the decal that I've just overlaid with a little bit of oil to make it a bit, because it was a bit too clean. So I need to go back to square one. I've just wiped off the, or most of, I just got to clean off a little bit more with just a little bit of enamel thinner. Again, this is a great thing about oils. I mean, this was over 12 hours ago, I think, or no, hang on, no, maybe about 8 hours. I haven't had much sleep. I can't count the sleep, so yeah, I just wiped that off. And on the Tomcat, okay, I'll just, hopefully it should be, because I used artist oils for this, and yeah, there it goes. It's gone. It's gone. Now, next time I do this, I don't know why, but I haven't been able to remove the wings on this one, and yeah, I'm learning so much with these two F-14 builds, because I've got so many other F-14s I want to do. So even when I make mistakes like that, or when I don't get things quite right, or whatever, it doesn't bother me, because I've learnt so much, and then the next one is going to be better. I've just been watching Jim's models, Jim DeCesare. He's doing a trumpeter F-14D, 132nd scale. He's doing a magnificent job there. Yeah, I can't wait to get stuck into another big scale F-14, because it's a literal canvas for you to do stuff. And yeah, so I've got the Tamiya, I've got the trumpeter ones to do. Anyway, long story short, let me get set up. I'm going to redo these wing sweeps, and then we're almost done. So I've hit it again, the wing sweep. I've actually mastered it off properly this time with the right, using the right contours. Next Tomcat I do with wing sweep that you can actually see, I'm going to have the wings removable, because it's a lot easier this way. So I've done the Revell. Okay, here it is on the left, and basically all I use is a very large, firm filbert there, and you've got to get the pivot points actually here. Okay, so the wing pivots here like this, and it goes around like that. So you've got to get the angle, as I was told correctly. You've got to get the angle more like this. Okay, as it swings in. That might not be the right scale for the 148, but it was the right scale for the 132 using this filbert. But what I did with this one, and I'll show you on this one as well, is get the old cotton bud, and I think I've showed you this before, and we just want to refine some of those. This is hard to do on camera at the right angle, but I just want to, oops, that one's wavy, it should be straight. I just want to sort of spread this out. I've got to get that right. So I should be using that Q-tip like that as a lever. No, I might redo that one, because on camera it's a bit difficult, and I'll do the other one, but I'm happy with, let's see if I can get this without knocking everything off. I'm happy with how it went on the Revell, and also it's good to do it again, because I changed the colour. It was way too warm and brown orange sort of tones, where this is a nice dark grey, which is what I want. Alright, I lied about going underneath first. I'm going to do the sides here. It's another area where there is there's usually a fair bit of grime, and that's because, if you can see, I've put some little dabs around the steps there, and I might just do a few more here, not too many, because this will become a sludge. So that's Starship filth. Right, and I want to just create just some smudges basically. So I'm just going to spread these out, getting that on camera. And sometimes this will disappear completely. I might switch to my softer brush, but that's not looking too bad. And I want to separate them so they're not going in one area. And then I've also put some along the spine here, so I want to slam that in there till that access panel gets opened up. Just spread that out. So again, if you don't like what you're seeing, grab a clean brush and some enamel thinner, and yeah, wipe it all off. If you really don't like what you're seeing, don't watch my bloody videos. Go watch something else. Okay, so I'm using a very soft brush, and that's really diffusing it. So this is supposed to represent, and it's actually a little bit damp, which helps too. And sometimes you have to do this 3 or 4 times. This is only the first layer. And what this represents is, yeah, those grubby hands. You know, the crew, they've gone for a bit of a walk around the aircraft, and they're going, oh look, let's touch all the fancy missiles, see if they're still attached. And they get, you know, grime and stuff on it. And then you got the aircraft handlers themselves. They're young dirty men and women making messes. Imagine what your kids are like. They're even worse. I'm going to do a bit more. Yeah, that's my blue brush. Don't use the blue brush, Chris. Use the brown brush. This is why you have separate brushes. Okay, all of a sudden you've got blue where you want brown, and that's not good. So let's just do a few more little dots. As you can see, it's barely applying any. Okay, and we'll get the soft. Oops. just blending those dots away into smudges. Sometimes I'll be doing this and I'll look at it and I'll go, no, I don't like it. I accidentally wipe it all away, but there we go. It's a bit wet, it'll dry off and we'll get some nice smudges and things. I'm going to go around the other side. Oops. We'll do the same. Don't forget to do the pylons as well, because they get handled all the time. What else? But yeah, and the outside, there's a lot more to go, isn't there? I was hoping to have this finished by tonight. I don't think it's going to happen. I've started to apply a few oil effects on the lower fuselage. Here, as you can see, there's a little bit going on here. I don't want to go overboard. I've done a little bit on the on the landing gear at the front, and just on the middle in between the two engine nacelles, and I've just shaded a little bit underneath these wings. I'm not going to go too much. There's only a couple of reference photos that show how dirty this is. I've put some smudge marks on the leading edges of the stabilizers, and that's where the crew pushed the aircraft. In fact, I need to, oh, there we go, I need to blend those ones, so let's do it live. So this is mainly Starship filth, but also a little bit of the Payne's Grey, which is what I used on the upside for the wing walks. Wing walks? No, wing bags. No, the sweep. I'll get it right eventually. Alright, that'll do for there. So we need to do this particular staining here. As you can see, I've already pre-shaded it with some different greys in that, because I think you get this really weird and wonderful hydraulic fluid. I'm going to use burnt sienna to replicate this, and I'll just give you a cheat guide because I've already done it on the Big Bird. Let's see if I can get this in camera. Okay, so there it is there. And for some reason it goes around the navy decal. Maybe they clean it, and you got some stains on the inside and then a little bit on the other side. Some stains like that. So I've almost finished Big Bird here. I've done a little bit under the wings and so forth. Yeah, I could go, like I said, I could go to town, but I'd be here forever. I'll leave that for another day. I've got a few other big F-14s I want to do eventually. Alright, so let's get stuck into this one. And the way I'm going to do that, use my light brush. I'm going to get a little bit of the burnt sienna. I've done that's just straight out of the tube, and that's a dark mix with the Payne Grey. And the camera is having kittens. So what I basically want to do is just first apply a filter. And I'm just going to look at my Revell one as a reference, where to put the points. I do have one reference photo to have a look at. Let me just spin this around. This thing's so bloody big, it keeps hitting everything else I've got on the bench. So I want a little bit over here, going back, and I want a little bit there, and I want a little bit here. But I want most of it on this side. So I don't know what happens. Maybe there's some hydraulics come out of this one. That's what's staining everything. So okay, we'll do that to start with, and then I'll get the long round. Basically, I just want to feather and spread this stain out. Can you see that? I've got quite a dry brush there, but it's getting the stains that I want. And then I found what I was doing the Revell one is to accentuate it, is put some shadow underneath these fins. So I'll do that with a bit of Payne's Grey. Let me just tilt that up so you can see this one better. So come in there and stab, that diffuses it, and then twirly twirly, that blends it together. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a few layers here. This is just starting to come good. So as you can see, if a monkey like me can do this, anybody can do it. It's not that hard. It's just getting an understanding of what colour works, what doesn't. So that's a very light staining layer to start with. What I'll do is I'll blend all this together, and I'll come back and I might do a second one. Alright, I think I've got that right. I've put a couple of streaks in there, a little bit of discoloration. I'm going to add a little bit more. As you can see on the bottom of that nacelle, the Payne's Grey really makes that shadow effect down the bottom. So I might just add a little bit down the sides of these nacelles and around the landing gear, the closed landing gear bays, just to give them a little bit more variation. And then I think I'll call the underneath done. In fact, they're all done, and I can move on with painting the finer details and get these things in the air where they belong.